Thank you for coming back today. What we're going to be looking at today is working through the hamstring length as well as some rotational components. Now, this is somewhat of a complicated movement in the sense that there are a lot of parts and pieces going on in this. So I'm going to try to break this down into just a couple easy steps that we can kind of build into to get the full range of motion and make it easy to understand. So step one is we're going to come into a split stance position. So I'll show you this from the front and from the side. So we'll start with the left-hand side here. You're going to want to bring your left leg in front, right leg in back. You're going to bend the right knee just a little bit here. Then we're going to start to come up onto the back foot. So we're going to bend the left knee in front, bending the right knee in the back, and we're going to come up onto the ball, the right foot. So now when I say the ball, you want to really feel that connection between the big toe or the first metatarsal and the pinky and the fifth metatarsal. Okay, so inside foot, outside foot, basically. All right. So from here, you want to find a little bit of extension. So we're going to tuck the pelvis underneath us, right? And then now very slowly, you're going to start to squeeze that leg back. So that's squeezing the hamstrings and the glute to try to bring the leg back. So you're bringing the pelvis underneath you, squeezing that knee back, trying to lock it out. So you're trying to squeeze that quad in this extended position, working against the range of the glute and the hamstring to be able to pull that leg back. You're going to hold that squeeze from right there. Step three is we're going to slowly let that right pelvis start to rotate back, right? So we're letting the low lumbar rotate around coming into this right position. As we're squeezing this leg back, that's going to get us a really good stretch down through that psoas right here. And then we're going to add one last little piece into this. You're going to get that reach. So I want you to take that left arm out, just bend that right elbow, hug that elbow around the body, and engage that serratus on that left side to start to activate that reach as you're squeezing that leg back, opening up into that rotation. And you're just going to hold that position, activation, for 5 good deep breaths. Once again, trying to maintain that connection with the ball of the foot. Okay, so you're going to do that for both sides. That's working on the overall extension piece of the body. This is good for patterning gait. So if you think about this from a side stance perspective, if we're going to be taking that step as we come forward in the swing phase to the stance phase, we have that leg behind us. We're letting that pelvis open up to the side. We're getting that full length of the psoas coming down this way. And we're able to push off of that whole foot versus doing anything weird like rolling through and just pressing off the big toe or swinging that leg around to try to get the actual lift off and swing. The second position we're going to look at is adding in that rotational piece. So we're going to find that same situation here. We're not going to bring the right leg as far back as we did in the last one. We're going to bring it in a little bit closer, and we're going to load into the front of this left leg. And so what I want you to think about is bending both knees again, coming into this position. And instead of trying to bring this leg back, we're actually going to start to extend the front leg. So you're going to hinge forward. So karate chopping yourself at the hip here to push those hips back to find that solid hinge. We're trying not to round in the upper spine quite yet here. I want you to keep your chest up nice and tall. And then you're going to slowly find that hinge where you're sinking into that leg. So this is driving some internal rotation of the femur here. And that's what we want. Okay, we want to be able to feel that inside foot kind of collapsing down to the floor here. Once we have that, then we're going to start to round forward with a little bit of a reach. And so I want you to think about just starting to pull the left elbow back, wrapping around the rib cage, reaching down for the right foot or the left foot with that right hand. Going to find a little bit of stretch and work on that inside thigh here as well as to the back glute. Now we're going to really focus on trying to push through that foot to bring that knee back or extend the knee to find that activation of the hamstrings and the glutes. So you're going to keep that reach and that rotation, and then push that hip up towards the sky and hold that activation here, working against the length of those hamstrings for 3 good deep breaths. After that third breath, you're going to keep that press, keep that reach, and then start to drive down, pushing through, tucking those hips, letting those hamstrings and glutes do the work of pulling yourself back up into that full standing position. Okay, so we're incorporating a couple different things in here. We have the hip hinge, the quarter squat. We're trying to find that length through the hamstrings as we push our hips up towards the sky. We're adding in that rotational piece here, and at the very end, after holding that position for a few good deep breaths, then we're trying to really tuck that pelvis and push that foot to get those hamstrings to roll that low spine up. And coming back to a standing position, let me show it to you from the side. Okay, so left leg in front. I'm back in my quarter squat. I'm feeling the inside of my foot. We're pulling that elbow back. We're reaching that hand down. We have that rotation. I'm allowing a little bit of rounding or tucking to happen through the spine here. Now that I'm loaded in position, I'm pressing down through that foot. Now I'm trying to press through, bringing that knee back, still keeping a little bit of rounding through my spine here. Really finding that rotation. My 3 breaths, taking a breath in. On that last one, then I press through, tucking that pelvis even more, rounding up, and coming back to that standing position. So I'm really working all of this tissue here on the side hip, as well as the inner thigh medial hamstring, to get everything fully loaded, stretched out, and working all together. All right, I hope that kind of breaks down what we have talked about in the past and makes sense as you try to practice these exercises and work through some of the tightness and tension that you're experiencing.